Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmIOverReacting for you all. As per usual, I'll be going through the post, giving you my opinion at the end, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Cautious Pair 5800. Am I overreacting for calling out my boyfriend after finding out his homemade romantic dinner was takeout from down the street? My boyfriend told me he wanted to cook for me and made a big deal about planning a romantic dinner. When I showed up, there was music, roasted duck, and honestly, it looked too perfect. I noticed the same foil containers in the trash from the restaurant near our place. When I asked if he'd ordered it, he said he just used their packaging. I got suspicious, checked the bin, and found the actual receipt from the restaurant. We had a big fight because it was obviously a lie, and he got embarrassed and said I was ruining the vibe. I would have been fine if he just told the truth. I mean, I'm not great at making food either, but why did he lie to me? Am I overreacting? But you have got to pick the hills you die on a lot better, because this is not one of them. You could have still gone the extra mile of making it look all nice and fancy and just been honest of, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't have as much time as I thought to cook properly, so I got takeout, but I tried to make it not as nice as possible. That's still brownie points, dog! And you don't end up accidentally reliving the plot of Steamed Hams. You see, you say you cooked this meal, but I see the packaging in the trash can. Oh, no, I just used their packaging for cooking. Really? You used their packaging for cooking, despite the fact the receipt's within the trash can right there. I'm gonna stop right there with the bit because this is such a convoluted reference that only a small fraction of my audience is going to actually understand. And basically, the boyfriend somehow managed to get the bad ending of a Simpsons sketch by doubling down and saying she ruined the vibe. Instead of, locking in like Seymour did and saying his house burning down was the Aurora Borealis as his mother screamed from the bedroom window. Gallanth. I think they're using lead speak, so it's kind of just a guess for me. Am I overreacting for being mad that my husband canceled my birthday dinner to help his sister move? I, 32 female, had my birthday last weekend. Nothing huge. I just booked a table for 6 at a nice mid-priced place and invited 2 of our friends. I told my husband, 34 male, about it 3 weeks ago. He said cool. He even chose the restaurant. On the day of, around 2 p.m., his sister called saying her move got messed up and she needed help carrying boxes because the movers left early. He told her, yeah, I'll come, without even checking with me. Then he came to me and said, hey, I have to go help. We can move dinner to another day, right? I said no. I already booked it. People are coming. I got ready. He said I was being selfish because family emergencies happen. I ended up going to the dinner with just our friends and had to explain why my husband wasn't there. I was smiling, but I felt so stupid. His sister is fine. She had her boyfriend and 2 cousins helping. It was not like she was stranded on the street. When he came home, he acted like I should understand because that's my sister. I told him he made me feel like I was second priority on my own birthday. He said I'm overreacting because it's just a date and we can celebrate any day. So am I the asshole for being this upset over it and not wanting to reschedule anything now? I have a very different definition of family emergencies than your husband does because this is not one of them. I'm inclined to believe that the sister has poor planning skills or didn't properly pay the movers or just didn't properly organize things because movers don't just leave early. They're set on a schedule. And if you didn't properly accommodate that or plan for that, then that's on you. So, in my opinion, your sister's inability to do planning doesn't constitute a family emergency that you need to abandon your wife on her birthday for, especially when she has people helping her move. See, if I were to put on the tinfoil hat that I crudely crafted in my kitchen drawer while no one was looking, that's a damn shame the tinfoil sound's not being picked up by the microphone. And I'm not about to destroy my hard work crafting a finely woven tinfoil hat, so that bit's dead. Anyways, that failed bit aside, I don't think your boyfriend actually helped your sister move. I think he was just looking for any and all excuses to get out of having to attend your birthday dinner. And when his sister mentioned the mover screwed something up, suddenly it's, oh, damn, I gotta go help her move, family emergencies, and literally just fucked off and did whatever he wanted to besides going to your birthday. That's what I'm left believing, because who in their right mind would actively choose to help someone move than go to a dinner? Because it's a perfectly reasonable response to tell your sister who's moving, hey, sorry, I can't help because my wife and we have her birthday dinner tonight. Maybe I can help move tomorrow. That's a perfectly reasonable response, and the sister would be the asshole for freaking the hell out over that. But no, he dropped everything to go help her move. Like, do you see what I mean? It feels far more likely that he just used any excuse he could find or get his little grubby raccoon hands on. I don't know why I called him a raccoon. That's kind of fucked up. But anyways, he used anything he could find to get out of the birthday dinner, which in this case just happened to be his sister moving. I don't think he was actually there helping her move. I think he was doing literally anything else except for that. The Checo waffle. That's not what that says at all. The chunky waffle. 33. I like mine better. Am I overreacting? My husband took all my Halloween cookies. This is so dumb, but it's driving me nuts. I need some outside opinions. So I, 26 female, made some Halloween cookies from scratch. It's a family recipe and Halloween tradition that normally my grandma does, but this year she couldn't due to some health issues. So I stepped up and was going to surprise my family by making them. Well, my husband, Kyle, 31 male, asked if he could take some to work for his department. Just a few guys. I made extra, so I said sure. Well, guess what? I woke up and the entire tray was gone. Like 40 plus cookies for just 4 guys total. So I called him thinking it was a prank. Maybe he hid them as a joke. But no, he said he thought that I said he could take them to work instead of me giving them to my family. I would never say that. I literally made them to surprise my family with. So I asked how many were left and if he could put them away. He said sure, so I calmed down. Later, I asked him again how many were left and he said he never went to check. He's still at work. We go into a huge argument over the phone and said that I should have set some aside on a different tray for him to take. And I replied that he is the one taking them to work, so it was his responsibility to take a plate and add a few, 4 to 8. And that I made it very clear I needed most of them for my family, and it was extremely inconsiderate of him to just assume he could take all of them. Plus, I wanted some of them, and we have 2 kids, and I wanted to share them. I was so mad I told him he was an asshole and hung up. And now he's texting me saying I'm the asshole. They're just cookies. So, am I overreacting? Also, P.S. I can't make more. They're very time-consuming and I have a full day. So, here's my take on this one. I can understand the initial confusion of the husband going to grab the cookies, seeing a massive plate of them, and thinking, well, my wife did say that she would bake extras and there's only 1 plate here. I assume she probably would have plated them off for me to take to work, so this must be the one. I can at least understand that logic. But if I were in that position, knowing they were homemade cookies, I would see the 40 plus and go, yeah, there is no way in hell all of these are just for me because this is hours upon hours of effort. But the reason why I bring that up is because that is at least an honest mistake. An honest mistake where, had he then turned around and tried to rectify the situation by any means possible, I'd be in the position of mistakes happen. This is a shitty mistake, but they do happen, but at least he's trying to fix it. However, that's not what we have here. The wife tells the husband about the fact that cookies were not for his coworkers, says there are some cookies left, and then proceeds to do jack shit in terms of trying to preserve them so that way his wife could still do something for her family. The original plan that he was aware of. He had several opportunities to try and correct the mistake, to try and fix this. But he opted not to. He didn't care. There's a comment below where OP talks about the fact that the cookies are entirely from scratch. Frosting and all. That's a lot of work. A lot of work which he clearly doesn't respect or give a shit about. A lot of work which he just passes off as the wife overreacting. At every potential opportunity that he had to fix this, from plating the cookies back up and being like, okay, fuck, I took too many from work, there's still a few left, I can fix this, to then just not even going to check on that and then telling the wife, they're just cookies anyways, and it's your fault for not plating them differently at home, to then the final cherry on top of him proceeding to text her, calling her the asshole, and that they're just cookies. Like, buddy, you made a mistake, and at every turn, you doubled and tripled down. If I was in your shoes, buddy, I would be doing everything in my power to try and fix this. So I did some digging into OP's history, wondering if I could get some additional context to the situation because, well, I wanted to see if maybe there were some interesting comments. Instead, I found this. Would I be the asshole if I took my kids and left my husband on his own for a while? This was posted 4 months ago. Update at the bottom of the post. Hey guys, been a long time reader on this forum, but now I need advice. Genuine advice. Throwaway account, fake names. I, 25 female, have been married to Kyle, 31 male, for 5 years. We have 2 babies, 22 months and 8 months. Overall, we've been a happy, strong relationship, and we've had our issues. Kyle got diagnosed with BPD a year into our marriage after multiple incidents that finally led him to get some counseling. Long story short, he's a great guy when he's doing well, and a toxic, manipulative, abusive alcoholic when he's in one of his lows. I get a lot of people asking why I stay, and for those of you who understand BPD, you know that it's one of the few disorders that can fade with time and healing. He's been through hell in his life, and I would hope someone would give me the same chance I'm giving him. Anyway, he struggles with drinking. It's his outlet for when he's feeling insecure. He gets like this whenever I do anything without him. So, today, I went out to dinner with my sister, did some shopping, etc. Nothing crazy. I got home around 10 p.m. as I had previously communicated with him, and he said it was fine. However, when I got home, he was passed out in the bedroom with the baby while the toddler was unsupervised in the living room, locked in with the baby gate, watching a movie. There was evidence he'd been drinking empty bottles of hard lemonade, which is a violation of our agreement to not drink around the kids. I was furious, but remained calm. I let him sleep so as to not start a huge blow-up. Now I'm debating whether or not I should leave with the kids temporarily until he actually gets real help. I know he left the toddler alone for an hour because of when he texted me, he was putting the baby to bed. Also, it was just one drink. Would I be the asshole? Update. First of all, thank you everyone for your advice. It's so hard to see what's in front of you when you're in the thick of it. But you all have given me an outside perspective that I feel I was incapable of seeing on my own. I'm trying to approach this through the eyes of my kids, as many of you suggested. I'm also getting some of the books you guys recommended. To answer you guys who wonder why I had kids in the first place, honestly, it wasn't like this at first. We've gone through a lot together and our relationship seemed amazing in the first couple years. I didn't know he had BPD. He didn't know at the time either. Like I said, he's been through so much abuse. Past relationships was a serial cheater, physically and verbally abusive, abuse from mother and other women in his life. You're right, I can't change him. The part that makes this hard is the 90% of the time, he's a good dad. He changes diapers, does baths, feeds them, takes them to the park, spends hours every day loving on them. I get that if he loved his kids, he wouldn't leave them unsupervised, but it's not so black and white. My kids adore him and I'm worried that leaving him would give them abandonment issues. I have left before. I stayed with my parents for a few months, but that was because of a much worse incident over a year ago. Since then, he hasn't gotten actual help, but he has a family mentor and he stopped drinking so often. He's shown improvement. He went from drinking every day to drinking once or twice a month on bad days. I'm not trying to justify his behavior. Maybe I really do need to walk away. I know sometimes there won't be a next time, and now may be the last chance I get to leave in one piece. It's not so simple to just leave. I'm the primary breadwinner, not because he's lazy, but I just have a better, higher paying career than him. And I have no one else to watch the kids when I work. 20 hours a week out of the house, the rest of the time I work from home. So leaving suddenly without a plan would mean no money. And my other family is broke. They're already in debt. And so, I have to look out for providing for myself and my kids. Is there a way to approach this without leaving right away? Luckily, he's about to go out of town to visit his brother for a couple days, so I have some time to think about this. Thanks, guys. An important comment from Key Atmosphere 7870. Total empathy for you and for him. I know BPD and the awful damage a hard life lived can do. That said, suppose you got home and he'd fallen asleep next to the baby, then rolled on top of her. Maybe the toddler figured out the baby gate, went into the kitchen, and found some interesting blue liquid from under the sink to drink. How would you feel about his issues then? Same level of empathy and understanding? Do you think your kids, who are innocent in all this, utterly vulnerable and have no choice as to whether they get unsupervised by their drunken, irresponsible father putting them at risk because he's upset, have any rights to the same empathy you're giving him? You're using his BPD as an excuse to let him drink, be irresponsible, immature, and downright dangerous around his own children. The outcome could be, well, devastating. If you choose to enable that by tolerating it and leaving things as they are, staying, hoping for the best because he's a nice guy sometimes, and something happens to the children on his watch, you will be equally responsible and never forgive yourself. A sobering thought. OP responds, "This was so raw and painful to read. I feel like we're always looking to hope and not the reality. And you're right. Thank you for your understanding and your perspective." Also, and I may be incorrect on this one, but BPD can be mitigated with time, but it can't be fully cured with time. At least that's my understanding with it. So I'm not sure if OP was misinformed, or perhaps even their husband sold them a story as to why eventually he'll be totally A-okay in the future. So feel free to provide further insight in the comments if you can. But on top of that, just kind of going back to the whole Halloween cookie fiasco, the husband very clearly has selfish and destructive tendencies, from just simply having a thoughtless idea of taking all the cookies to work and blaming the wife for it, to falling asleep drunk in the same bed with an infant and leaving a toddler unsupervised to watch a movie. As that one commenter stated, either of the children could have ended up seriously injured or worse. I think it would be wise at a minimum for OP to give themselves some distance from their husband, and pretty much force him into a position where he has to grow and be a better person and get some things under control, even more than he has. Getting that 90% of the time that he's a good husband to being nearly as close to 100% as possible. And if he can't do that, for your safety and for your children's, it might be a good idea to look at leaving this marriage behind. Because that night that he fell asleep, you guys got lucky. Plain and simple. Meadowlark 9. Am I overreacting for locking my phone after my mom kept reading my texts? I, 27 male, not overreacting, moved back home for a bit to save up after switching jobs. My mom is great in most ways, but she's got this thing where she needs to know everything about my life. When I was a kid, she'd read my notebooks, check my drawers, that kind of stuff. I figured by now she'd grown out of it. Nope. Last week, I left my phone charging on the kitchen counter and came back to find her literally reading my texts, like scrolling through my messages with my girlfriend. She said, "If you don't have secrets, what's the problem?" I told her the problem is privacy, not secrets. So I changed my passcode and started keeping my phone on me all the time. She noticed and called me paranoid. Then she told my aunt that I'm being disrespectful and acting like a stranger in my own home. Every time I go out, she texts stuff like, "What are you hiding?" or "I miss the old you." I told her if she keeps this up, I'll move out sooner and stop helping with bills. She said I'm overreacting and it's just a mom caring about her son. Am I overreacting for setting that boundary? Sounds like your mom's a boy mom and she despises the fact that you're not a mama's boy. Like, you're an adult. She can miss the childhood you all she wants, but she's not getting that back. Like, you're an adult now. You're not a 14-year-old. I was willing to reserve some judgment on this post because I was wondering if the situation might be something along the lines of a parent who's worried that their, teenage son or teenage daughter is talking with people online that they shouldn't be. Because that's one of the rare instances where I can understand parental intervention. And I'm sure anyone who is groomed on Kik, Skype, Discord, or Gaia Online, or God knows where else would definitely agree with me on that one. But thankfully, that's not what we're talking about here. Instead, we're talking about a mom who feels entitled to read through her son's entire life because Reasons, I guess. Well, you've got nothing to hide. There's no secrets between us, right? I miss the old you. Like, she saw your phone charging on the kitchen counter, which I've done that from time to time, and then just decided in that moment, oh yeah, I'm guessing my son's password's probably a significant set of digits to him, like his birthday, so let me just snoop through and see what he's talking about. Is he talking about me? Is he talking bad things about me? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually a major part of it, is the mom's checking to see if things are being talked negatively about her. And that's what the whole, well, you don't have any secrets, right, comes from. It would actually be mildly amusing to see how your mom would react to you going through her stuff, you going through her emails, you going through her text messages, you going through her tax documents. You know, anything you can get your hands on, because obviously, she sees anything that she can get her hands on as fair game. Goofy retaliation ideas aside, this is unacceptable behavior, definitely not overreacting, and this comes across as though she hasn't quite realized you're a grown adult now. Deleted user. Am I overreacting for considering divorce as my husband refuses to resolve an issue which he himself keeps bringing up? Hi, I, 34 female, and my husband, 37 male, have been married for 4 years, and till now, there is one consistent issue which keeps coming up in our arguments for which I am thinking of separating from him, as he refuses to find any solution or follow any of my suggestions for the same. The issue in question happened on our wedding day, involving my mom and mother-in-law. Since neither of us were there at the time of the incident, I don't have full picture of what exactly happened. As per my mom, since she was stressed already and mother-in-law was further increasing her stress levels, she firmly asked her to finish the rituals. As per my mother-in-law, my mom insulted her and her brother in front of everyone, which is unacceptable. This issue didn't come up till after a year into our marriage when my mother-in-law told my husband some version of the incident, and both his family and him cut contact with my family and blocked their numbers, before which they were talking normally with them. I'm saying some version, as I don't believe all the things mother-in-law says, as she has a habit of lying. Have faced it firsthand related to me, as she mentioned some things to my husband for which he got angry at me, which in reality didn't happen the same way she said, but my husband believed her more than me. My family even stayed at their place once as they had invited them over, but there was never once a mention of this incident in any of their talks. Even I got to know about this incident in one of my husband's temper outbursts when he started talking shit about my family, after which I told my family to not contact them anymore if they don't want to talk. The no-talk situation has been continuing since, for which I did suggest to arrange meet-up between both our families and figure out a way forward, as the mention of the same incident keeps coming up, but my husband refuses directly for the same. To the most recent incident. My husband and I shifted to our home this year, which we both invested in, and since all work is completed, we have invited our family to visit. I asked my family to come visit after my in-laws have visited, so that there is no issue later on. My husband's family has already visited now, so my family is coming to visit next week. My husband, after learning that my family is coming, first said that he doesn't want to be in the same place as them, so he will leave for his family's place. For which I told him that he doesn't need to think too much about it, as my family won't bother him as much, as they won't be staying full-time in the house, as they plan on doing some sightseeing during the week they're staying. And we need to go to office too. But he refused. After a few days, he said he won't let my family set foot inside the house, as it's not their house, which I reminded him that it's not just his house too, it's both our place. But he's still saying the same thing and then continued to badmouth my family. In return, I said he wouldn't be doing any such things, and things are at a standstill now. We aren't talking to each other much. My family is still coming, and I'm planning to go back with them, as there doesn't seem to be any solution for the situation, and will serve him divorce, as I won't be cutting contact with my family. Okay, so that was a little bit messy to read through and comprehend, but basically, Opie's mother and mother-in-law had some kind of falling out during the wedding that they weren't made aware of until about a year after the wedding. And then, after they were made aware, despite being on friendly terms with each other, decided that as a family, including OP's husband, they're going to block OP's family. After a year since said incident, husband apparently has weird temper outbursts, and additionally, when OP's family is going to be visiting, The husband doesn't want them to set foot in the house, despite OP allowing husband's family to visit with no issue. Additionally, when any form of compromise or ability to sit down and discuss the issue is brought up, the side that lets it fester and has the most grievances refuses to actually address the situation. So, in my eyes, because it took a year for this to actually escalate and things were mutually fine for a while, I don't think whatever happened at the wedding between the mother-in-law and mother was actually that serious. I think the mother-in-law is just a habitual shit starter and enjoys having drama, a villain of the week, which in this case just happens to be her son's wife's parents, aka the competing grandparents. My guess would be is that the only person who's allowing this drama to continue is the mother-in-law. Judging by how close-knit OP's husband's family is and how quickly they rally behind their mother, especially with little to no evidence or hearing all sides of the story, my guess would be is that whatever happened at the wedding wasn't a big deal. And it wasn't until things wanted to get flared back up that it became a big deal. She craves the drama, and everyone around her is used to falling in line in any one of her schemes or antics. Now the thing is, if there was some kind of difference or some kind of issue that the husband has with OP's parents, you're allowed to not like someone. But the problem arises when you're now trying to prevent your wife from seeing her family, or the fact that you have no interest in trying to reconcile the differences between the two of you. But also, you're the one who keeps bringing the problem up. OP's own husband pissed in his own bowl of Cheerios, blamed OP's parents for pissing in his Cheerios, and then when they try to fix the situation or try to come to amicable terms by getting him a new bowl of Cheerios, he scoffs at them, bites at them, then takes a big ol' spoonful, and then yells at them for making him take a spoonful. Yeah, I don't blame OP for looking for a divorce in this instance. I'm going to open this one up with a massive, massive content warning ahead. General warning for childhood abuse and childhood trauma. Because this is the final post, and with the subject matter that'll be discussed, there will be no outro. TW Tide 2749. Am I overreacting? I, 38 female, caught my husband, 39 male, doing something deeply inappropriate beside our sleeping child. I have been extremely upset. Please refer to the final update at the end of the post. Thank you. I, 38 female, need perspective on something that happened yesterday that completely shocked me. My husband, 39 male, and I sleep in separate rooms, and our almost 5-year-old daughter alternates between us at night. Yesterday morning, around 8:40 a.m., I went into his room to wake her up. I froze when I realized he was masturbating while watching porn on his phone. He was covered in the blanket till his neck, so nothing was exposed. With our daughter sleeping right beside him, only a few inches away. He immediately looked startled and tried to hide his phone. When I demanded to see it, I found multiple porn tabs open in incognito mode. It was adult content, not involving minors, but that doesn't make it any less disturbing to me. What horrified me most was that he did this while she was right next to him, fully aware of her presence while she slept. When I confronted him about what if she woke up and saw, he said he was alert for any movement from her, which only made me feel worse. It meant he knew exactly what he was doing and tried to justify it as if being alert somehow made it okay. It also means he's done this numerous times. Later, he said he felt ashamed and that he's a bad person and doesn't deserve us. Guilt-tripping. Gross. I told him I can't ignore what happened and that I no longer feel safe leaving our daughter alone with him. He got defensive, saying I was reinforcing his thoughts of shame, and walked away. Buddy, you can't just jack off next to a child and say that, oh, your wife's enforcing your feelings of shame because she caught you. Fuck you. To be clear, I have never worried about my daughter's physical safety with him before this. The only issue I've ever had is his emotional regulation. He can get worked up and angry quickly, though not violent. That's why this has left me completely confused. Was this an awful moment of impulse and poor judgment, or something that points to a deeper problem? One question that keeps haunting me is whether men can tune out a child's presence during sexual activity. Not because I want to excuse it, but because I need to know if this means my daughter was never at risk or if the boundary violation itself is already a huge red flag. I can't stop replaying that moment in my mind. It leaves me feeling sick, heartbroken, and terrified all at once. I keep wondering whether this was an isolated, awful lapse in judgment or a sign of something deeper that I need to protect my daughter from. The thought of what could have happened if she had woken up makes my stomach turn. I don't know if this is something that can ever be repaired through therapy and strict boundaries, or if it's a line that's simply too serious to come back from. Right now, I'm trying to focus on keeping my child safe while making sense of what this means for our future. If anyone has been through anything remotely similar or has insights, I would appreciate to hear it. Update: since quite a few people asked, our daughter usually co-sleeps between us, but about a month ago, I moved to another bedroom due to some health issues that required more restful sleep. Since then, she's been alternating between sleeping with me and her dad depending on how I'm feeling. When I walked in on him, he was under the blanket with headphones on, watching The way he got startled and quickly tried adjusting his position made it obvious what was happening, even before I saw the phone. Our marriage has been rocky for a while, there's been no physical intimacy for about a year, and a growing emotional disconnect. Update 2. I have asked him to move out for now so I can get some breathing room and process what happened. He said he wasn't touching himself, just dry humping, as if that makes everything so much better. He also claimed that he watched once a month, which I don't know if I believe. He again said that he didn't think much of it and he realizes it was wrong. I have so many conflicting thoughts running through my head, but my daughter is my priority and I'm sad for her as she is very attached to her dad. Final update. As of now, I wanted to thank everyone who took the time to read my post and respond with kindness and concern. I spoke with my husband again. He said he is deeply remorseful and that he never had any bad intentions towards our daughter. He explained that he didn't think it through at the time because she was sleeping, but now realizes how inappropriate and wrong it was, and that my reaction is justified. I told him that believing she was asleep doesn't make it okay. Also asked him to work with a therapist to understand why. In that moment, he thought it wasn't a big deal or didn't see how wrong it was. I've also asked him to move out for now so I can create space and safety for myself and my daughter. We've decided to begin couples therapy, and I'll determine what happens next depending on how therapy goes and what insights come from that process. My daughter absolutely adores her father, and I've never suspected any inappropriate behavior toward her before this incident. This has been one of the most devastating experiences of my life, so I'm taking things one step at a time and not rushing into any decisions. Thank you again to everyone who offered support and insights. There are comments under this post, by the way, that are justifying the husband's actions and blaming the wife for not having sex with him for over a year, and that she shouldn't be mad and this is an overreaction for kicking him out because he's desperate not to cheat on her. I'm sorry, is dry humping under a blanket next to your child somehow acceptable because you haven't had sex in a year? Are we fucking real here? This also, obviously, isn't a one-off behavior. This is consistent. Not that that makes it any better, by the way, if this was one-off behavior. It's still equally as bad in any circumstance. The decision alone is revolting, by the way. And I can't fucking believe there are comments trying to somehow justify this behavior. Like, go to the bathroom or something. Good God, man. Like, this behavior would get your husband put on the registry, by the way. And there is no telling of whether or not him dry humping in a bed with his child didn't wake her up or not. I don't know, that seems like a lot of vibrations and motions that could definitely jostle her awake. But no, guys, you don't understand. It's fine because he's very aware of what's going on. And following up with that bullshit guilt-tripping thing, I'm a bad person, I don't deserve you. Shut the fuck up. Die. I'm glad he's out of the house, but that would have been like kicking him to the curb that instance and getting into contact with CPS, getting an attorney involved, and getting as much documentation as possible for full custody. Like, this is revolting. And I cannot fucking believe there are comments below that are actually trying to excuse this behavior. Thankfully, 99% of them are definitely on the side of, this man needs to go the hell away and everyone needs therapy. But there are comments, like if I literally just sort by new right now and scroll down, oh look, right there. 100% overreacting, kicking him out is next level insane, did much more damage to your daughter. Or, you're not taking care of him. I am actually going to crash the hell out.